The mysterious door. The night was colder than usual, and Jason's breath formed clouds in the air as he parked his old, rusty car outside the abandoned facility. The place looked as lifeless as the rumors said. A massive gray structure surrounded by overgrown bushes and silence that seemed unnatural. Yet something about it made his skin crawl. Jason looked down at his phone. The message from his sister, Lena, was still there, glowing on the cracked screen. It had arrived 3 days ago, completely out of the blue. "Jason, I'm alive. Come to the coordinates below. But whatever you do, do not open the door." Her voice echoed in his mind as he stared at the building. Lena had been missing for 5 years. Everyone told him to move on. They said she was gone, that no one could survive being part of those experiments. But Jason never believed them. And now, here he was. He grabbed his flashlight and stepped out of the car. The gravel crunched under his boots as he approached the front gate, which hung slightly open. A faded sign next to it read, "Restricted area. Do not enter." Jason hesitated. The air smelled of rust and dampness. His flashlight flickered as he stepped inside. The entrance hallway was long and narrow, with walls that seemed to close in around him. Broken lights hung from the ceiling, casting eerie shadows. "Lena," Jason called out, his voice barely above a whisper. Only his echo replied. As he walked further, he noticed strange symbols scratched into the walls, circles, lines, and markings he couldn't understand. They looked almost alien. His heart pounded harder with every step, but he couldn't turn back now. He had to find Lena. After a few minutes, Jason reached a room that looked like an old security office. Monitors lined the walls, most of them shattered, but one screen still flickered with static. On the desk lay a small leather-bound book, its cover worn and dusty. He picked it up and opened the first page. It was Lena's handwriting. "They're watching us. I've made a mistake, but it's too late now. If you're reading this, Jason, you need to know that I didn't mean for this to happen. I just wanted to help humanity. But they lied to me. I became part of something bigger than us. And now, they won't let me leave." Jason felt a chill run down his spine. He flipped through the pages, but most of the writing was smeared or torn. Only one phrase was clear: "Do not open the door." A loud clang echoed down the hallway, snapping him out of his thoughts. He whipped his head around, pointing his flashlight toward the sound. "Hello? Who's there?" No answer. Jason's hand trembled as he put the book in his backpack and continued deeper into the facility. The air grew colder, and the strange markings on the walls became more frequent. The whispers started soon after, faint at first, like the wind, but then they grew louder. "Jason, Jason." He spun around, his flashlight beam darting across the empty hallway. "Who's there?" he shouted, his voice cracking. "Lena. Is that you?" No reply, just the whispers, growing louder and more insistent. They seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Finally, Jason reached the end of the hallway, where a massive metal door stood. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, covered in glowing blue symbols that pulsed faintly, as if alive. The door hummed softly, vibrating under his touch when he placed his hand on it. A small panel next to the door lit up with Lena's name. Beneath it were 2 words: "Access granted." Jason's heart raced. He remembered Lena's warning, but curiosity gnawed at him. What was she hiding? What was behind this door? He leaned closer, inspecting the glowing symbols. They almost looked like writing, but not in any language he knew. The whispers grew louder now, almost deafening. They seemed to be urging him forward. He pressed his ear against the door, and for a moment, he thought he heard Lena's voice on the other side. "Help me, Jason." That was all it took. He grabbed the lever next to the door and pulled. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit chamber filled with strange machinery and glowing artifacts. But Jason barely noticed any of it because, in the center of the room, inside a glass container, was Lena. Or at least it looked like Lena. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, and her eyes glowed faintly blue. Strange, metallic veins ran across her arms, pulsing in rhythm with the light of the room. She looked alien. Jason took a step back, his heart hammering in his chest. "Lena?" he whispered. Her eyes opened, locking onto his. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Then, suddenly, the machines around the room began to hum and spark. The door slammed shut behind Jason, and a voice boomed through the chamber. "You shouldn't have opened the door." The screen faded to black. The secret revealed. The door slammed shut behind Jason with a deafening thud, plunging him into a surreal mix of awe and terror. The room was bathed in an eerie blue glow, emanating from alien machinery that pulsed like a heartbeat. The air was thick, almost alive, as if the space itself was reacting to his presence. Jason's eyes were glued to the figure in the glass pod. It was Lena, or at least a version of her. Her once warm brown eyes now glowed faintly, their light piercing through the fog of his disbelief. Metallic veins crisscrossed her skin like roots of a tree, pulsating in a rhythm that matched the hum of the machines around her. Jason took a shaky step forward. "Lena, is it really you?" Her head tilted slightly, her lips parting as if to speak, but no words came out. Instead, a strange vibration filled the room, and the glowing symbols on the walls flared brighter, casting ghostly shadows. Suddenly, a voice echoed, not from Lena, but from the machines. It was mechanical, layered with an otherworldly tone. "Subject 17 has been awakened. Unauthorized access detected. Lockdown protocol initiated." Jason's pulse quickened as red lights flashed in the corners of the room. The hum of the machinery grew louder, and Lena's pod began to emit a high-pitched whine. "Lena!" Jason shouted, rushing to the pod. His fingers grazed the cold glass as her eyes met his. For a moment, it felt like she was trying to tell him something urgent. The voice boomed again. "Time remaining. 5 minutes. Evacuation required." Jason's heart raced as he scanned the room. Among the alien devices was a console with symbols etched into its surface. A small holographic screen displayed lines of incomprehensible text, alongside a glowing red timer counting down. 4:59. 4:58. "Think, Jason, think," he muttered to himself, frantically searching for a way to stop whatever was happening. His hands hovered over the console, but the alien symbols made no sense. Then, Lena's voice, soft, distorted, echoed through the room. Jason touched the center. His head snapped up. "Lena, how?" "Do it," she said, her voice urgent. Jason hesitated for only a second before slamming his hand onto the glowing panel in the center of the console. The red timer froze at 4:43, and the room fell silent, save for the faint hum of the machines. Lena's pod hissed as it began to open, releasing a cloud of cold mist. Jason stumbled back as she stepped out, her movements stiff and mechanical, as if she were learning to walk again. "Lena," Jason whispered, his voice breaking. Her glowing eyes softened as she looked at him. "Jason, you shouldn't have come. They'll know you're here now." "Who?" "Lena, what happened to you? What is this place?" She reached out, her metallic fingers brushing against his arm. "There's no time to explain everything. I was part of an experiment, a bridge between us and them." Jason's brow furrowed. "Them? Who are you talking about?" Lena hesitated, glancing at the machinery around them. "The ones who gave us the technology. The ones who made all this possible, but it came at a cost. They don't see us as allies, Jason. To them, we're just tools." The weight of her words hit him like a punch to the gut. "Are you saying aliens did this to you?" She nodded. "I thought I could help humanity. I thought I could learn their secrets and use them to protect us. But they lied. And now, they want me back. They'll come for me, and for anyone who's seen this place." Jason's mind raced. "We need to leave. Now." Before Lena could respond, the room shuddered violently, and a loud, inhuman screech echoed from somewhere deep within the facility. The blue glow flickered, replaced by harsh, red emergency lights. "They're here," Lena said, her voice trembling. Jason grabbed her hand. "Come on." They sprinted toward the door, but it wouldn't budge. Lena pressed her hand against a panel, and the alien symbols glowed faintly before the door finally hissed open. As they stepped into the hallway, Jason's flashlight flickered, illuminating shadows that didn't belong to them. A chilling growl echoed from behind, followed by the sound of something metallic skittering across the floor. "What's that?" Jason asked, panic creeping into his voice. Lena didn't answer. Instead, she pulled him forward. "We don't have time to find out. Keep moving." The whispers from before returned, louder and more menacing, as if the walls themselves were alive. Jason tightened his grip on Lena's hand as they ran, the sound of their footsteps drowned out by the alien growls closing in behind them. Finally, they burst into another room, a large, circular chamber with a massive console in the center. Lena rushed to the controls, her fingers flying over the alien symbols as if she'd done it 1,000 times. "What are you doing?" Jason asked, catching his breath. "Buying us time," she replied, her voice steady despite the chaos. "I can seal the lower levels, but it won't hold them for long. We need to get to the surface." Jason nodded, his mind reeling with questions. But as Lena worked, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning, and that whatever was chasing them wasn't going to stop until it got what it wanted. Suddenly, the chamber door slammed shut, and the console emitted a single chilling message. "Escape is futile. Return the asset." The screen faded to black. The chase begins. The facility trembled as if it were alive, its metallic walls groaning under the weight of something unseen. Jason's breaths came in sharp gasps, his hand tightly gripping Lena's cold, metallic fingers as they sprinted through the dimly lit corridors. The air seemed to vibrate with a deep, otherworldly hum, and the whispers from earlier had transformed into guttural growls echoing behind them. "Lena, what are they?" Jason shouted, his voice cracking with fear. "They're not supposed to be here yet," Lena replied, her glowing eyes darting toward the shadows. "They're coming for me. And now you." Her voice was sharp, almost mechanical, as if the words hurt to say. Jason glanced over his shoulder and immediately wished he hadn't. The creatures following them were barely visible in the flickering emergency lights, elongated limbs, claws that scraped against the walls, and eyes that glowed like embers. They moved too fast, their jagged forms blurring in the dark. "Run faster," Lena urged, yanking Jason forward. The corridor twisted and turned like a maze, each intersection looking more identical and disorienting than the last. Jason's legs burned with effort, but he didn't dare slow down. Every time he glanced back, the creatures were closer, their guttural noises growing louder, almost mocking. Suddenly, Lena pulled Jason into a side room and slammed the door shut. She pressed her glowing hand to a panel on the wall, and a web of blue symbols spread across it like veins. The door locked with a heavy thunk. For a moment, all they could hear was their ragged breathing. Then came the scratching. The sound of claws raking against the metal door sent chills down Jason's spine. "They'll break through eventually," Lena said, her voice low but steady. She moved toward the room's center, where an alien console sat, its surface humming faintly. "What are you doing?" Jason asked, leaning against the wall to catch his breath. "Giving us an advantage," she replied. Her hands hovered over the console, tapping symbols that lit up under her touch. The room's lights dimmed further, and the hum grew louder, pulsing in rhythm with the scratches at the door. Jason's eyes darted around the room. It was smaller than the others they had passed, but filled with alien technology, glowing panels, strange cylindrical devices, and a massive screen displaying incomprehensible data. One corner held what looked like a weapon, a sleek silver rod with glowing blue edges. He grabbed it instinctively. Lena glanced at him and nodded. Good. You'll need that. The scratching at the door stopped. For a moment, an eerie silence filled the room. Jason tightened his grip on the rod, his heart pounding in his chest. Why did they stop? He whispered. They're not gone, Lena said. Her glowing eyes stared at the door, unblinking. They're waiting for us to make a mistake. As if on cue, the walls around them began to vibrate. Small, spider-like machines dropped from hidden panels in the ceiling, their red eyes locking onto Jason and Lena. Without hesitation, one of them lunged toward Jason, its sharp legs clicking against the floor. Jason swung the rod instinctively. The burst of energy shot out, blasting the machine into pieces. He stumbled back, shocked by the weapon's power. Focus, Jason, Lena shouted as more of the machines swarmed toward them. Jason fought to keep up, swinging the rod and sending bursts of energy at the spider-like creatures. But for every one he destroyed, two more seemed to take its place. We can't stay here, Jason yelled, sweat dripping down his face. Lena didn't respond. Her hands moved faster over the console, her glowing veins pulsing brighter with every movement. Finally, the hum reached a deafening pitch, and the console emitted a wave of energy that fried the remaining machines. The door groaned as the creatures outside began pounding against it. The metal bent inward, cracks forming along its edges. Lena, whatever you're doing, do it faster, Jason shouted. I'm almost done, she said, her voice strained. I've rerouted the power to the upper levels. We can escape, but it won't hold them for long. Jason looked at her, his mind racing. How do you know all this? How do you know what to do? Lena paused for a fraction of a second, her eyes meeting his. Because they made me part of it. Before Jason could respond, the door burst open, and the creatures flooded in. Their distorted forms seemed to blur and shift, making it impossible to tell where one ended and the other began. Run, Lena shouted, grabbing Jason's arm and pulling him toward a hidden hatch at the back of the room. Jason dove through the hatch, Lena close behind. The tunnel on the other side was narrow and dark, lit only by the faint glow of her veins. What's the plan? Jason asked, his voice echoing in the tight space. We get to the surface, Lena said, her tone cold and determined. And then we find a way to stop them, before they destroy everything. Jason glanced back, the sound of the creatures echoing through the tunnel. And if we can't? Lena didn't answer, but the look in her glowing eyes said enough. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a war they weren't supposed to win. The dangerous truth. The surface wasn't what Jason had expected. He emerged from the tunnel, gasping for air, only to find himself standing in a barren wasteland under a crimson sky. The facility they had escaped from was nowhere to be seen. Just endless stretches of cracked earth and jagged rock. The wind howled like a living thing, carrying whispers that sent chills through his body. Lena climbed out behind him, her glowing veins dimming slightly as she steadied herself. Her glowing blue eyes scanned the horizon with urgency. This isn't right, she muttered. Jason turned to her, his frustration boiling over. What is this place? What's happening? And what the hell are those things chasing us? Lena didn't answer immediately. She knelt down and placed her hand on the ground. The veins in her arm pulsed brighter as the ground beneath her hand began to glow faintly. A network of blue energy lines spread out like roots, revealing patterns that resembled alien circuitry buried beneath the surface. This isn't Earth anymore, she finally said, her voice heavy. At least, not the Earth you know. Jason's heart sank. What do you mean? We were underground, not in another world. How? The facility was more than just a lab, Lena interrupted. It was a gateway, a bridge between dimensions. When you opened that door, you activated the gateway and brought us here. She stood, brushing dust from her hands. This is where they come from. Jason stared at her, his mind reeling. You're saying I brought us to their world? You didn't know, Lena said softly, her glowing eyes meeting his. "But now we're here, and they won't stop until they have me." "Why you?" Jason asked, stepping closer. "What did they do to you?" Lena hesitated, her gaze dropping to the ground. For a moment, she looked almost human again, vulnerable. But then she straightened, her voice cold and steady. "They turned me into a hybrid. Half human, half them. They needed a bridge, a way to understand us, to control us. I volunteered for the project, thinking I could stop them. Instead, I became the key to their invasion." Jason felt like the ground had been ripped out from under him. You're saying they want to use you to invade Earth?" Lena nodded. "And now that they've found me, they won't stop until they've taken everything." The wind picked up, and Jason could hear the distant screeching of the creatures that had chased them. They were coming. "What do we do?" he asked, gripping the alien weapon he'd taken from the facility. "We fight," Lena said, her voice filled with a quiet determination. "But first, you need to know the truth about why you're here." Jason frowned. "What do you mean?" She stepped closer, placing a hand on his chest. Her touch was cold, but he felt a strange warmth spreading through him, a connection. "Jason, you weren't just at that facility by chance. They chose you." "What?" "No, I came because of your message." "You came because they let you find me," Lena corrected. "Your DNA, it's special. It's why you could open that door. It's why you're still alive. They've been watching you for years, waiting for the right moment." Jason stumbled back, shaking his head. "No, that doesn't make sense. I'm nobody." Lena's glowing eyes softened. "You're not nobody, Jason. You're their plan B. If they can't use me, they'll use you." Before Jason could respond, a deafening roar shook the ground. He turned to see a massive shadow moving across the horizon, its shape too large and too alien to comprehend. The smaller creatures scurried ahead of it, their glowing eyes locked onto Jason and Lena. "They're here," Lena said, pulling him out of his shock. "We need to move." Jason clenched the weapon in his hands, his mind racing with questions he didn't have time to ask. He followed Lena as she led him toward a jagged ridge in the distance, her movements fluid and unnervingly fast. As they climbed, the roars grew louder, the shadows larger. Jason glanced back to see the creatures gaining ground. "They're too fast," he said, his voice tinged with panic. Lena stopped at the top of the ridge and turned to face him. "Then we make our stand here." Jason's eyes widened. "What? Are you crazy? There's too many of them." "Trust me," Lena said, her glowing veins pulsing brighter. "I can buy us time, but you need to focus. That weapon you're holding, it's more than just a tool. It's connected to them, to this place. You can use it, but only if you let go of your fear." Jason stared at her, the weight of her words sinking in. "I don't know how." "You will," she said, stepping closer. "You have to. Because if you don't, we both die, and so does Earth." The creatures crested the ridge, their forms twisting and shimmering like living nightmares. Jason raised the weapon, his hands shaking. He could feel the energy coursing through it, begging to be unleashed. "Jason," Lena said, her voice calm despite the chaos. "Remember what I told you. You're not nobody. You're the key." As the first creature lunged toward him, Jason swung the weapon, releasing a burst of energy so powerful it shattered the ground beneath them. The screen faded to black with the sound of alien screeches echoing into silence. Betrayal and sacrifice. The battlefield was silent for a moment, save for the faint crackle of the scorched earth. Jason stood amidst the wreckage of his last desperate attack, the alien weapon in his hands humming softly as it powered down. The air was thick with ash and the metallic scent of something unnatural. Lena crouched beside him, her glowing veins dimming to a faint pulse. "That was reckless," she said, her voice sharp but tinged with admiration. "But effective." Jason's grip tightened on the weapon as he turned to face her. "Reckless. I just saved us. He gestured to the charred remains of the creatures that had ambushed them. If I hadn't. You still don't understand, Lena interrupted, rising to her feet. Her glowing eyes narrowed, her tone icy. Every time you use that weapon, you're giving them a signal. They know where we are now. Jason's anger flared. Maybe you should have told me that before I blasted half their army. Lena didn't respond immediately. She turned away, her glowing veins flickering like a dying light. It doesn't matter anymore. They're coming. Jason sighed, exhaustion creeping into his voice. So what's the plan now? We just keep running until they catch us. Lena hesitated, her gaze fixed on the horizon. For the first time, Jason noticed the faint tremor in her hands. No, she said softly. We don't run. Not anymore. Her words sent a chill through Jason. What do you mean? She turned to him, her expression unreadable. There's a way to stop them, to shut the gateway down permanently, but it requires a sacrifice. Jason frowned. What kind of sacrifice? Lena's glowing eyes met his, and for a moment, she looked almost human again, vulnerable, afraid. Me. Jason staggered back as if struck. No, no way. There's got to be another way. There isn't, Lena said firmly. I'm the link, Jason. The bridge between their world and ours. As long as I exist, they'll keep coming. They'll keep hunting. Jason's mind raced. But if we destroy the gateway, they'll still find a way, Lena interrupted. They're too powerful. The only way to stop them is to sever the link completely. Jason shook his head, his voice rising. You're talking about killing yourself. Lena stepped closer, her glowing eyes locking onto his. I'm not human anymore, Jason. I haven't been for years. What they did to me, it changed everything. This isn't my world anymore, but it's still yours. Jason's chest tightened as he looked at her. There has to be another way, he whispered. There isn't, Lena said, her voice soft but resolute. This is the only way to save Earth, to save you. Before Jason could respond, a low rumble shook the ground beneath them. The sky darkened as a massive shadow loomed on the horizon. The alien creatures were coming, thousands of them, their jagged forms twisting and merging like a living tide. We're out of time, Lena said, turning toward the approaching horde. She extended her hand, and Jason could see the faint shimmer of energy gathering around her. You need to trust me. Jason hesitated, his mind a whirlwind of emotions. Lena. Go, she shouted, her voice breaking. Get as far away as you can. I'll hold them off. Jason's legs felt like lead as he stared at her. Every instinct screamed at him to stay, to fight, to find another solution. But deep down, he knew she was right. I'll come back for you, he said, his voice trembling. I swear. Lena smiled faintly, the first genuine expression he'd seen from her since they reunited. You always were stubborn. With that, she turned toward the advancing horde, her glowing veins blazing with energy. Jason's chest ached as he forced himself to run, the alien weapon heavy in his hands. He didn't look back, but the sound of Lena's voice echoed in his ears, soft, determined, and hauntingly final. Goodbye, Jason. As he reached the edge of the ridge, Jason turned just in time to see Lena unleash a blinding wave of energy. The ground cracked and split as the light consumed the creatures, tearing through their ranks like a storm. The air was filled with their screeches, and for a moment, it seemed like Lena might actually win. But then the light flickered. Jason's heart sank as he realized the truth. Lena wasn't trying to win. She was trying to end it. All of it. The ridge collapsed behind him, and Jason tumbled to the ground. When he looked up, the battlefield was silent. The creatures were gone. The gateway was gone. And so was Lena. The crimson sky began to lighten, the oppressive weight of the alien world lifting. Jason sat in the dirt, his hands trembling, his mind numb. She was gone. And yet, the world felt safer, quieter. Jason tightened his grip on the weapon, his jaw clenched. Lena had made her choice, but her fight wasn't over. Not yet. With renewed determination, he rose to his feet and began walking. Somewhere, in this strange and broken world, there were still answers to be found. And Jason would find them, no matter what it took. The final stand. The alien world was unnervingly quiet now. Jason stood at the edge of the ridge where Lena had made her final stand, staring out at the wasteland that stretched endlessly before him. The scorched earth was littered with fragments of the creatures she had destroyed, their twisted forms still faintly glowing with residual energy. But Jason wasn't celebrating. He tightened his grip on the alien weapon, its faint hum the only sound in the stillness. Lena's sacrifice had bought him time, but the ominous feeling in his chest told him it wasn't over. The silence wasn't victory. It was a warning. And then the sky cracked. A jagged tear appeared in the blood-red heavens, its edges pulsing with the same blue light that had coursed through Lena's veins. From the tear, something massive began to emerge, a shadow so large it seemed to block out the entire horizon. Jason's heart sank as the ground trembled beneath his feet. "They're not finished," he muttered to himself, his voice barely audible over the rising wind. The shadow solidified into a colossal figure, a towering alien construct that looked more like a living machine than a creature. Its body was made of shifting metal plates that glowed faintly with energy, and its multiple limbs moved with eerie precision. From its chest, a single blindingly bright eye opened, scanning the landscape. Jason didn't need Lena to tell him what it was. This was their leader, their enforcer, the one sent to reclaim what Lena had taken from them. Him. The massive construct let out a deep guttural roar that reverberated through Jason's bones. From its chest, a beam of energy shot out, obliterating the ridge where he had been standing moments earlier. Jason dove to the ground, rolling behind a jagged outcrop of rock as the heat from the blast seared the air. "All right," he muttered, pulling himself to his feet. "Guess I'm not done running yet." But as he glanced at the alien weapon in his hands, an idea began to form in his mind. Lena had said the weapon was connected to them, to their world. If he could figure out how to control it, maybe, just maybe, he could turn their power against them. The ground shook again as the construct advanced, its massive limbs crushing the earth beneath it. Smaller creatures spilled out from its body like drones, swarming toward Jason's position. "Of course, there's more of you," Jason said, raising the weapon. "Let's see what this thing can really do." He aimed at the nearest swarm and activated the weapon. A burst of energy exploded outward, disintegrating the first wave of creatures. But the weapon felt different this time. Stronger, almost alive. Jason's arm tingled as the energy coursed through him. And for a moment, he thought he heard Lena's voice. "Focus, Jason. You have to trust yourself." The words steadied him. He adjusted his grip and fired again, sending another wave of energy ripping through the enemy ranks. The weapon seemed to respond to his intent, almost like it was reading his thoughts. But the construct wasn't waiting. It raised one massive arm, and a hail of projectiles rained down, forcing Jason to retreat. He sprinted across the uneven terrain, dodging explosions and returning fire whenever he could. Each blast from the weapon drained him a little more, but he couldn't stop now. The whispers began again, faint but persistent, like a chorus in his mind. Jason gritted his teeth, trying to block them out, but the words grew louder. "Join us, Jason. You don't have to fight. We can give you what you want." He stumbled, the weapon faltering in his hands. The whispers weren't just noise. They were tempting, offering him visions of peace, of Lena alive and unharmed, of Earth restored. "Shut up," Jason yelled, firing blindly at the approaching swarm. "You don't get to win." The construct's eye flared brighter, and Jason felt a surge of energy ripple through the air. The whispers stopped abruptly, replaced by a single booming voice. "You are not the enemy, Jason. You are the solution." Jason froze. The voice was calm, almost gentle, but it carried an undeniable weight. He looked up at the construct, its massive form towering over him, and felt the weapon in his hands grow colder. "We created you," the voice said. "You are our bridge, our key to survival. Surrender, and you will be more than human. You will be one of us." Jason's mind raced. He thought of Lena, of her sacrifice, of everything she had tried to protect. The alien weapon hummed in his hands, its energy sensing with the pounding of his heart. "No," he said, his voice firm. "I'm not your key, and I'm not your bridge." He raised the weapon, focusing all his energy into a single blinding shot. The weapon pulsed, its light growing brighter and brighter until it was almost unbearable. Jason's body ached as the power surged through him, but he didn't stop. He aimed directly at the construct's glowing eye and fired. The beam of energy tore through the sky, connecting with the construct in a deafening explosion. Jason was thrown backward, the ground beneath him shaking violently. He landed hard, his vision blurring as the weapon fell from his hands. When the dust settled, the construct was gone. The tear in the sky had sealed, and the whispers had vanished. Jason lay on the ground, staring up at the now empty sky. The weapon lay silent beside him, its glow extinguished. "It's over," he whispered, though he wasn't sure if he believed it. But as he sat up, a faint, familiar voice echoed in his mind. "Not yet, Jason. Not yet." The unexpected ending. Jason sat in the dust, the alien weapon lifeless beside him. The sky above, once blood-red and fractured, was now a dull ashen gray. The silence was overwhelming, broken only by the faint rustle of wind sweeping across the barren landscape. His body ached from the battle, but his mind was heavier, filled with questions, regrets, and the echo of Lena's voice. "Not yet, Jason. Not yet." The words repeated in his head, faint but clear, like a distant memory. Jason clenched his fists. "Lena," he called out, his voice hoarse. "Are you still here?" The wind answered with a low, mournful howl. Jason shook his head, trying to focus. He'd destroyed the construct, sealed the tear, and stopped the invasion. Hadn't he? Yet something felt unfinished, as though the battle had only been a prelude. The weapon, cold and dark beside him, suddenly sparked to life. Its blue veins glowed faintly, and Jason flinched as it vibrated in the dirt. A holographic display flickered above it, forming symbols he didn't recognize, alien characters twisting and shifting. But then the symbols rearranged themselves, morphing into words he could understand. Connection reestablished. Protocol reset. Awaiting directive. Jason frowned, his heart sinking. Reset? What does that mean? Before he could react, the ground beneath him pulsed with energy, the faint blue glow spreading outward like ripples in a pond. Jason scrambled to his feet, staring as the alien circuitry buried in the earth illuminated, stretching out to the horizon. The air grew heavy, crackling with static. And then he saw her. Lena's form emerged from the glow, translucent and shimmering like a ghost. Her face was calm, her glowing eyes steady as they met Jason's. But there was something different about her, something distant. "Lena," Jason whispered, taking a hesitant step forward. She tilted her head, her voice soft and unfamiliar. "Jason, you've done well." Jason froze, his relief quickly replaced by suspicion. "What are you talking about? What is this?" Her expression didn't change. "The gateway has been closed, the construct neutralized. But the cycle is not over." Jason shook his head. "Cycle? No, I stopped them. I stopped all of this." "You delayed them," Lena said, her tone unwavering. "But their reach is infinite. As long as the bridge exists, they will try again." Jason's chest tightened. "The bridge? You mean me?" Lena nodded. "Your DNA is the key, Jason. You were chosen for a reason. You are their contingency plan." He took a step back, his fists clenching. "No, I'm not going to let them use me." Her glowing form flickered, the faintest hint of sorrow crossing her face. "I know. That's why you must make the final choice." The weapon at Jason's feet pulsed brighter, its energy thrumming in sync with the glow beneath the ground. Words appeared on the holographic display. "Initiate total disconnect. Yes/no." Jason stared at it, his throat dry. "What happens if I say yes?" Lena's gaze didn't waver. "You sever the link permanently. Their influence will end. Earth will be safe." Jason's voice dropped to a whisper. "And me?" She hesitated, her voice softer now. "The bridge will be destroyed. You won't survive." Jason's heart pounded. There has to be another way. "There isn't," Lena said. "You've already seen what they're capable of. If you don't end it now, they'll keep coming. They'll find another way." Jason looked down at the weapon, his mind racing. Every instinct screamed at him to fight, to find a loophole, a way out. But deep down, he knew she was right. He'd seen the devastation, the creatures, the construct. He couldn't let it happen again. His hands trembled as he reached for the weapon. The display flickered, waiting for his answer. "Lena," he said, his voice breaking. "I can't do this. I can't. Leave everything behind." Her form flickered again, her glowing eyes softening. "You're not leaving them behind, Jason. You're saving them. And you're not alone. I'll be with you. Always." Jason's vision blurred as tears welled up. He looked at her, at the faint echo of the sister he'd lost, and nodded. "All right. Let's finish this." He gripped the weapon tightly and pressed the glowing confirmation on the display. The ground beneath him erupted with light, the alien circuitry blazing brighter than ever. The air crackled with energy, and Jason felt a searing pain radiating through his body. Lena's form stepped closer, her hand reaching out to his. He grasped it, her touch cold but comforting. "It's okay," she said softly. "You're doing the right thing." The light consumed everything. Jason closed his eyes, his body dissolving into the energy as the bridge was severed. For a brief moment, he felt weightless, free, and at peace. Then there was nothing. Back on Earth, the skies were clear for the first time in years. The remnants of the alien influence, the strange storms, the faint hums, the unexplainable phenomena, were gone. People looked to the heavens and felt an unfamiliar sense of calm. And far away, in the quiet corners of the universe, the whispers ceased. Jason's sacrifice had ended the cycle. The bridge was gone. Humanity was safe. But in the wind, faint and distant, there was a voice, a memory. "You're not alone." The screen faded to black.